Okay, well, I don't really have any participants right now. I'm gonna give it another couple more minutes, and then I will just present this anyway and record it because I think it would help a lot. Yeah, oops. Just gonna give it a couple more minutes. Joins. Okay, well, I think I'll get started. Okay, so hi, and if you are watching this, this is the program What Kind of Tree Are You? Interview tips, tricks, and weird scenarios. Um, I'm Rachel Kurasz. I am the Adult Services librarian who specializes in programming, creating programs such as this one. And today I'm going to talk about my past with interviewing and give some tips and advice to help anyone with the interview process because it can be a very hello. I was just about to start, so I think I will just go ahead and start. If you're joining, just please have your video and your microphone on mute until the question and answer section. That would be great. My little participation screen up here, just so I can add more people. But yes, so this program is What Kind of Tree Are You? It's for interview tips, tricks, and weird scenarios. I have had a very uh, interesting past with interviewing. I've had a lot. Generally, most of the interviews I get called into, I typically get the job offer. So I'm here to share my experience and tips with you, the patrons of DeKalb. So, yes. So first I'm going to talk a little bit more about myself. So, hi, my name is Rachel Kurasz. I'm the Adult Services librarian, uh, specializing in programming, like creating this program. And but that is not. I love my job, but my career right now, I'm a PhD in English, Lit, and Rhetoric at NIU. I teach Comp 103 and 203 at the university, and my goal is to be a college professor. And my other goal is also creative writing. I actually write graphic novels, so hopefully one day one will get picked up. But yes, but I've had a lot of careers in my past, and all of them had very different interviews. Um, yes, so, so my odd interviews. Yes, so my past interviews. So the first interview I ever did was for a small production company in Naperville, Illinois, called Creative Digital Masters. And how that interview went was very random. They came to my school to film a play that we were putting on, and they needed someone to run camera. I was like, why not? At that time, I wanted to work in the TV industry, um, and the production industry. So I was like, this is good. This is a good way to get my foot in the door. So I worked the camera, and then when I came back, he said I did a good job, and so he did an on the spot interview where he just asked me questions and like if I wanted to be an intern. And I was like, yeah, sure. So then I worked there. I was an intern for a year, and then he hired me on staff for the rest of my high school career, and then 1 year into college. So that was a really fun job. I loved it. I got to see lots of musicals and performances, and it was great. But it was a very different interview because I didn't know I was going to have one that day, and it was very on the spot. And that is a lot of interviews in that industry do run that way. So my tip for that one is if you ever do encounter the on the spot interview, give yourself a minute to like and transition into the interview mode and listen to the tips I'm going to give later. But really, it's all about centering and putting your best self forward. Yes. But other interviews I've had, I interviewed at Taco Bell. Um, I was, how old was I? I was 19 and I was looking for um, just kind of like a side gig so I could make some more money. Now, they had a very, very strange interview setup. I didn't end up, they offered me the job and then I turned it down because I thought that this interview was the strangest interview I've ever seen in my life. So I got there, I was dressed up like you're supposed to for interviews. And I got in the door, they're like, take a seat. I was like, okay. Then at approximately the time when the interview was supposed to start, they locked the doors. And they're like, so we're going to run this interview like a game show, elimination style. I was like, what? And so they basically had us all do a question and answer round. And if you at least answered something that they asked you, they then brought you to the second round. So they advanced you to the other part of the Taco Bell restaurant in the middle of the morning. And then everybody else, they dismissed them to go home. And I was like, okay. And then that other part, you had to, again, be your best self, but in a group setting. And then whoever they liked best, which was me and three others, they were like, okay, you guys go to this section, the rest of you goodbye. And then it was an essay portion where we had to then write an essay. And then finally I handed in my essay, they read it and they were like, would you like to work? And at first I said yes because I was very flattered. I felt like I had just won a contest, like, ooh, I won a job, yay. But then later I thought that was kind of messed up to just kind of do it, especially when like there's a lot of different people who some people are not morning people who interview, and so that was a very strange way. But for the Taco Bell game show approach, what I just kept doing is I answered the questions and I presented myself and I participated. So if you ever find yourself in that weird situation, participate. Show your best self. Show initiative. Definitely be on time. But it is a very weird interview that you have to just be yourself and on, and you feel like you're on The Price is Right or something. It was crazy. Um, I hope they don't do that way anymore. Then after Taco Bell, I applied to be a resident assistant at. I went to Southern Illinois for my undergrad, and that was a speed dating interview. They had about 7 tables with a different hall director at each one, and you had 2 minutes at each table to answer whatever question they threw at you, and that was the interview. And they had timers and buzzers, and it was nuts. But how I kept that together before I went into that interview, I centered myself. I was like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. I just have to answer, be my 100% genuine self, and but the best version of that self, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the tips. Yes. But so that was a weird one. That was really weird and very nerve wracking because you only get 2 minutes to answer the questions, and some questions they threw at you were very deep, very, very deep. Um, like, what was it? You see a resident who has obviously been drinking too much and they are looking very sick. What do you do? And I was like, I am not prepared for that. But I handled it in a way that I was like, okay, I would first prioritize making sure they're okay and possibly assessing if they had alcohol poisoning and stuff like that before I even think about punishment. And So that was, I think, was a good answer. I don't know. I never received the results of my um, actual interview, like how I did, but I did get the job and was an RA then for like 3 years while I was getting my undergrad. Then, because I wanted to work in the media industry, other than the on the spot interviews like I had with Creative Online, I had some over the phone, over email, like over Snapchat, or not Snapchat, Zoom, Skype, that was the one, and stuff like that. And that one was the hardest because you can't see the other person, so you can't gauge how you're doing, if you're doing good or you're doing bad. Those were the most nerve wracking ones, too. Um, yes. For that, I had to keep waiting before I responded. I had to think, okay, this is what I want to say. I had to monitor my breathing because I was like, am I breathing too heavy? Stuff like that. That was that. I have other tips down there for that one. And other than the phone, Skype, the phone one was much harder than Skype. Skype, you could at least kind of see how they were reacting. Um, then on some of the other internships that I interviewed for, it was 2 to 3 people were interviewing me. This is actually how the library did the interviewing. So it was 2 to 3 people. They had clipboards and they asked questions. And that one is typically, that's the traditional kind of interview scenario that you will face interviewing. It will typically, it's the most professional one in my opinion, and it's the best. You don't feel pressure for time. You don't feel like you're on a game show. You feel like they are professional and they're listening to you, and you are able to actually be your 100% best self. So those are the best ones. Um, it gets a little bit more sorry, little okay, nerve wracking if it's one on one, because if it's one on one, there's only one person there to see you, and it's that person, either a yes or a no. I had that when I was doing my interview to be an adjunct at North Central College, and that was also very nerve wracking. Just one person. So I do like the 2 to 3 people interviewing. But yes, so I've had a lot of really weird interviews. I've done pretty good. So let's get into some tips and tricks. These are from the experts. These are from hiring managers and recruiters, what they have. Okay, so tip number 1 is from hiring managers, and this was via an undercover recruiter article. So the first tip they gave, know when to be quiet. It's okay to stop talking. I've interviewed far too many people who just don't know when to shut up. Some people are nervous, some people are unsure, some people don't think for a second before they start blabbing, and they're still trying to talk over the interviewer as they try to steer them towards the next question. So that was from that. And I totally agree with that because, um, again, it's taking that moment to fully think before you answer. You don't always have to be talking. It's okay. It's not, you won't look any worse if you don't talk all the time. But it's much better to just know when to be quiet. Give yourself a couple minutes or like 30 seconds at least to think before you just blah, 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 blah. And try to not talk over the interviewer because they do not like that. Another recruiter said, one recruiter concurred, saying an otherwise qualified candidate may dash their chances by being too long-winded during an interview, as it may indicate he or she may not be good at picking up on conversational cues and may raise doubts abilities to the candidate's ability to organize their thoughts. So that's also true. So definitely take those seconds to think before you talk. Just feel as if it is just a conversation that you're having with another person. Yes, there is a job on the line. Yes, you probably want the job. But remember that it's a conversation where they're getting to know you. And also, you want to get to know them too. Because if you do get the job, you want to know who it is you're working for. So, Another recruiter said that a candidate who kept silent after being asked a difficult question scored bonus points for not answering too quickly. The interviewer said that the silence indicated that the candidate was mature and competent enough to deal with the pressure appropriately. Silence may indeed be golden. So, yes, take those moments to think. Even if in your head you already know what you want to say, just take it to like de stress and to just be like, okay, and here's where I'm going next. Okay, tip number 2, write a unique and well prepared cover letter. Cover letters are really important. Oh my God, they are so important. Yes, you are repeating much of the same information as your resume, but it's your chance to show me why it's relevant to this opportunity. Selling yourself in this manner is a great skill and so much easier to read than a list, and so much easier to dismiss you if you call the company or the job by the wrong name. So that is from another recruiter post on Reddit, and that is also very true. Cover letters, they take some practice getting to know what to do, but really it is picking the parts of your resume that apply to this job and you really are saying why they are important. It's also a good chance to work on your editing skills to again make sure you have the correct company and the correct job in the cover letter. Another recruiter stated that a small fraction of applicants take the time to produce a unique cover letter, allowing that candidates allowing that candidate to stand out and worthy of consideration, even when the resume may not be the best. And then B, another was blunt in saying that most cover letters stink and that candidates should endeavor to create a brilliant one. When a great cover letter crosses the recruiter's desk, it influences his or her interest in the author. I've made a lot of cover letters, and I actually taught. I decided I'm not going to teach it this year, but at NIU I've taught how to write cover letters. Really, the key is to be yourself. Tap into the world of like narrative writing. Be human. Present yourself. Don't be like I did this. Really show some meaning. Show part of your personality out in the letter. Granted, don't make it too long or too winded, but it's calling on your resume and you're proving why you deserve this position. Um, Now, there are some people who go a little bit too unique, where they stray away from formats and genre conventions. Sometimes it works, especially in terms of if you have a graphic design job that you're trying to get and you make it really cool looking and different and it like pops off the page, that's cool. But if you were to take that same cover letter with all the drawings on it and give it to, let's say, somebody in like a corporate position, they would probably just throw it away. So it is good to know what genre kind of you're applying for. Is it a place that likes maybe like a pop of color? Is it a place where maybe you could do some illustration stuff like that? Or generally, it is best to just stick to kind of the format that is out there. Okay. Number 3, yes, good manners count. Don't interrupt the question being asked by trying to finish it off yourself as if you and I are on the same wavelength. It's rude, downright annoying. Honestly, it's pretty cheesy thinking that you're finishing my sentences. So manners really do count. Um, oh yeah, I was an assistant manager at Spirit Halloween, which is awesome. And I would really, this is where when I was interviewing people to work at my store, if they were rude at any way, like I know there's a difference between like nervous, like jumping in, but if I had any hint that they were rude, I would be like, no, we're not going to hire this person because your manners also translate to how you're going to be. Are you going to be polite in the workplace? Are you going to be polite to customers, clients, etc.? Another person said, always be nice to the receptionist, definitely the receptionist. Anyone you come in contact with when you show up for the interview. If you're a jerk to the person at the front desk, there's a good chance they'll say something to the person you're there to see. Plus, it's never too early to start making friends with support staff. That is so true. Support staff are the best staff. They're the ones who will have your back no matter what job. Be polite to all of them because one bad encounter could ruin your interview, especially if you're rude to the desk person but then act super nice in the interview, they will take that as you are more of a fake, two-faced person and be like, do we really want that in the office? So be polite and be nice to everyone, even like people who you don't even know work there. Just be your polite, really nice and polite. Tip number 4, be punctual but don't arrive too early. This is a mistake that I have made. It has not cost me the interview, but it is something to be aware of. Um, one recruiter suggests that a candidate arriving no more than 5 or 10 minutes early, showing up too long before a scheduled appointment may make an interviewer feel rushed, creating an unfavorable impression even before they've set eyes on each other. Yeah, I had a bad habit early in my job like career of arriving 30 minutes early. It would sometimes either annoy the interviewer or it did make them feel rushed a little bit. Or I would just sit in my car for like 20 minutes and be really nervous the entire time. So now I've learned really it's a 5 to 10 minutes early. Definitely don't show up late. If you're on time, you're a little late, but 5 to 10 minutes early. Do not beat me and go 30 minutes early and then have a panic attack in your car. That has happened to me. Yes. Again, they say don't be late either. And if you are, I couldn't find the building or I didn't think it would take so long to get here are terrible excuses. Makes me think you have no research skills and can't plan it. That is also very true. You don't want to say I couldn't find the building. I didn't think it would take so long to get here. I have done that mistake and it didn't cost me, but it did show them that I make mistakes and I couldn't do some research. So, again, that 5 to 10 minute sweet spot is where you want to be. Okay, you want to be prepared. They say, for goodness sakes, do a little research beforehand and have a few questions about the job or the employer lined up. At the end of an interview, if I ask the candidate if they had any questions for me, which I always do, and they just sit there slack jawed, it really feels like they don't want the job. The the interview process is your opportunity to figure out if the job is right for you. Use it. Um, this goes on. Interviews are not just a one-way street. It's not you proving that you deserve this job only. It's also, do you want this job? Early in my working career, I took a lot of jobs that then I absolutely hated. I hated the way I was treated, especially, I shouldn't call them out. When I worked at a movie theater, I'll just say a movie theater, and they were awful. And during the interview, if I had asked a few more questions, like I did one or two to just seem more interested, because I really thought at that time an interview is just me get job. But now I'm like, no, do I want the job? You want to feel how they are as hiring managers. Are they someone you want to work with? Are they rude to you? You really, really do not do what I did and take a couple crappy jobs to then quit a couple weeks later because you couldn't stand it. Really assess it, what is going and if you want the job. Number 6, prove you're unique. The most important thing to remember in an interview is that you are competing with other applicants and want to set yourself apart from them. Everyone is qualified for the position. The entire point of the interview is to find out if you can present yourself in real life as well as you do on paper, and to see if your personality is a good fit for the office. Your entire job is making them remember you. That is so true. So I'll give a couple tips a little bit later, but the biggest one I always give is the way you can be remembered is by having at least one unique accessory. If you're me, you can sometimes have 5 unique accessories because I love accessories. But truly, offbeat bow tie that looks still professional, a tie that is somewhat nerdy but also professional is pretty good. Don't like clash colors. Really, I generally say to people, wear neutral tones, but then accessorize, have something that's unique. Most interviews I wear, I have a scarf that looks very professional, but on the scarf are octopus tentacles. And so it looks really interesting and weird. And I know no matter what, at the end of the day, they're going to say, that girl with the tentacle scarf. It's a good thing because they may not remember my physical traits. They may not remember my name. They will remember my scarf. Yes. So that is a little key there. And it also does show that you're unique if you wear something different, but also be yourself. Um, Number 7, be honest, don't lie, just don't do it. You'll be found out. It might not happen immediately, but the truth will come out, and what might seem like a small lie will snowball into something out of control. Somebody else said, another recruiter recommended avoiding using perfectionism as the answer to the question, what's your greatest weakness? You may come off as disingenuous and may even look like you're avoiding the question. Not being realistic may make the interviewer think you can't or won't come up with a realistic assessment of areas for improvement. Don't lie. Do not lie. It always does come out eventually. Um, like if you said you know a software and you don't know it, it comes up. I remember I worked at a bar at a comedy club, and I knew a lot about mixing drinks and stuff. I had my license and stuff. But then they hired somebody who then admitted to me their first night that they knew nothing about bartending. They didn't have their like certificate yet, and they didn't know how to make any drink. And I was like, well, what? And they're like, I just watched YouTube videos. And I was like, what? And needless to say, they did not work at the bar very long because, but don't lie and say you know how to do things when you don't. And YouTubing and researching, like just by doing bare bones YouTube video watching, is not doing research. It is not. Um, so yes. And again, this with the question, what's your greatest weakness? People will ask that a lot. Do not do, I'm a perfectionist, because that's kind of like the bland answer. I know I'm always honest. I always say I'm too ambitious, which because I am. I really am. They learned that very fast, and that I need somebody to bring me down to earth. Um, or I will say I sometimes am too early, which is also that. So something that's not make or break in your personality, but something that is a flaw that you can improve upon is the best way to go. Tip 8, speak up. It seems so basic, but it never ceases to amaze me how many people, even at senior level, don't bother to do their homework properly about the companies and people they are being interviewed by. There's no excuse for it in the age of the internet, and it makes us think, why should we employ you when you can't even be bothered to find out how we work? So, ask questions, but do some digging to figure out how do they work, who works there, stuff like that. Number 9, follow up. An interviewer stated that a thank you note sent as a follow up to a meeting isn't just good manners. More than 1 in 5 hiring managers surveyed by CareerBuilder say they are less likely to hire a candidate who didn't send a thank you note. More on that. Follow up is huge. In my experience, I don't see this enough from candidates I interview. Getting an email or a letter from someone I interviewed would make them stand out from the other people applying for the job, both because it's rare and because it shows they are actually interested in the position. The follow up shows that you're interested in the employer and that they're not just one of 100 employees you're sending resumes to, employers you're sending resumes to. Even if you think an offer is in the bag, you can always improve your chances of getting a job if you send a thank you letter. So thank you notes and that's more for your corporate. You could also send a thank you email to catch out to thank them. I've actually never sent a physical thank you letter or note But I have sent thank you emails. Yes. So, but it is important to thank them because they are giving you a chance there. Tip 10, but you have to be patient. Please don't follow up every day. It doesn't show that you're more dedicated or enthusiastic. At best, it will come off as annoying. At worst, it will feel like you don't respect the person's time. Um, you won't respect the person's time. You have to remember that hiring managers, interview team are making these decisions on top of their regular responsibilities. So don't get too discouraged if you don't hear back right away. So you want to be patient. Usually, I would say about perhaps a week, a week to 2 weeks later. That's when you kind of follow up, um, just to know. Yes, definitely don't do the next day. A week, 2 weeks. Um, they continue my advice. Send thank you emails after each interview, and then wait. If you get another offer in the interim and are going to accept the info more. To accept, inform the recruiter. I think every recruiter on the planet wants to give their candidates a first class experience, but we have limited resources. If you're too aggressive or unpolished during the interview process, companies will think, wow, this person is going to be really high maintenance if we do hire them past. So that's very true. Um, you don't want to bug them, you don't want to be too aggressive, but also definitely if you get another offer and you're going to accept it, tell that recruiter that you're going to accept it so then they know not to continue their time thinking about you. That's also true for a lot of other things like submitting work to creative journals. Um, yes. Again, every interviewer is different and not all will agree with every single one of the above tips. But we found many hiring professionals, each of whom expressed the same opinion on the above topics. Paying attention to these tips may very well help distinguish you from your competitors and help you get the job. And there's a link to the article right there. So now from my experience, these are my tips. Number one, be yourself, but be the current best version of yourself. No one is perfect by any means. I am not perfect. You want to be yourself, the best current version. You don't, because we change a lot as humans. So you want to put forth the best version of yourself. That is right there. And it's okay to brag a bit, but do not too much. You don't want to go on and on and on, but do brag about yourself a bit. You're awesome. You got an interview. You got things that you can brag about. Do it. Just not too much. Confidence is key, but cockiness is annoying. You want to be confident in yourself, but you don't want to be overly confident to the realm of being cocky. Because just going in and thinking, I got the job, this is mine, that's not a good attitude to have when going to a job, as most people tend to dislike and not like to work with the cocky person. Seriously, don't lie. You will get caught, and it somehow, it may not come up right away, it might come up months later. Just don't lie. Interviewers are human too. They're going to be nervous as well. They're trying to figure out who to hire. They have a lot of stress on them to try to figure out who out of all these candidates are perfect for the job. They also know that they're also possibly breaking a lot of people's dreams, and that's a lot of pressure. Like a lot of people like need the job, really want the job, and they're going to have to be the ones to reject people. So they have a lot of stress. So remember, they're human. They're not perfect. They have feelings. Make sure to relieve stress before and after. That's so huge. Interviewing is a stressful event. It's both happy, nerve-wracking. You want to stress relief before and after. My biggest thing is grounding. I suggest doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, where you're sitting there and you're like, okay, look for 5 objects, 5 different objects. So you use your sight and you pick out 5 things. Then you go to 4, touch 4 things to see how they feel. 3, try to listen for 3 different sounds. If you have to, you can create one and then think about it. 2, try to sniff 2 scents, 2 different scents. if you can. And then one, think about what taste you're experiencing in your mouth. Did you just brush your teeth that morning and it's minty? Is it coffee tasting still? That will give you a couple minutes to center and be in the moment and help to relieve some of that stress. But then afterwards, no matter if you feel awesome or slightly sad about the interview, it's important also to relieve that stress because there's just a lot of feels. My important thing, treat yourself before and after. Get yourself a wonderful breakfast. Treat yourself. Go to your favorite cafe. Get yourself your favorite pastry. You deserve it because you are about to do something that's awesome and great. Then afterwards, you just did an interview. You survived. Yay. Treat yourself to lunch. Go to that store and get your one thing. Or do something fun like play video games on your phone and stuff. Just have fun and treat yourself. Ask them questions. Really, that's the key. And now, because of the pandemic, there's one question you can always ask to see how did your company handle the 2020 COVID-19 crisis? That is a question that you can now ask any employer. How did they handle it? And then they have to answer it. And you should also note if you think they answered it in a good way or a bad way, because then also will know, are they a good employer? Did they care about their employees? Did they follow guidelines? Are they going to make sure you're safe? Stuff like that. You can also ask them things like, let's see, did I write up there? No, I didn't. There was a TikTok expert who shared, I forget her name, she shared the greatest question that you should ask. And it was, what does your best employee do to be the best? And that is actually kind of a trick question because it's both, they're going to give you an answer of who they consider the best employee to be and what they do. But really what you need to be listening for is if they say things like they work overtime, they're here early, those things are what they're going to expect from you to be the best. And if it's too strict, if it's too demanding, then you know there's a red flag on, do you want to take this job? And it's a two-way street. It is not just, I need the job. A lot of us feel like when we're interviewing, we need this job, we need it. But we never ask to wonder, do we want it? Or are we just doing this because we need more money right now? Am I going to be happy? Is this a job that I just need to make ends meet and I'm willing to put up with some crappy treatment? Or is this a career and I'm going to be here forever? Think of those things. And yes, it's okay to get those side jobs and just to make ends meet, but know that you're worth good treatment too. Okay, so odd questions I've had to answer at interviews. I was asked, if you were a tree, which tree would you be? And I answered that I was a maple tree because I love maple syrup and maple flavor everything. But really, I said it's because I'm versatile. You can use my bark, and I also provide nice, yummy goodness to the whole workplace. And I did answer that. If you were a Pokemon, which one would you be and why? That was also a very fun one. What was a time that you had to stand up for your beliefs? That one was Starbucks. And I was not ready for that. But I had to think of a moment that I had to do that. What does the word ethical mean to you? That's a pretty good one. You find $100 bill lying on the ground. What do you do with it? I've had 4 places ask me that one. My answer is always that first I look to see if there's anybody immediately around who might have lost it. Then I generally take it back if like it was by the grocery store. I take it to the manager and I'd be like, hey, this was just like right out there. And I hope that they do something with it. What is the funniest Taco Bell label you have seen? I always say it's the one that says, will you marry me? Because I find that funny. But I have been asked that one. Name a day that seemed like everything was going wrong and what you did about it. I was asked that one 2 separate times. Um, yeah. What are you going to be dressing as for Halloween? This one's asked by both Spirit Halloween and Party City. If you want the Halloween job, definitely be prepared to discuss your love of Halloween. Yes. Um, and these questions are odd, but always answer them seriously. Don't laugh or think, why am I doing this? There's always a reason behind it. You may not know, but there's a reason behind it. Yes. And I was going to do a question and answer segment, but nobody stayed on. So yes. But if you have any questions, feel free to email me at my email, rachelk@dkpl.org. And that was my program. I hope you enjoyed watching this video playback and that you liked it. Thank you very much. Bye.